Guys, it is Friday, March 19th. So good to see you. Let's go ahead and dive into what we'll be up to today. First off, you will watch our video, which you're on. And secondly, very simply, you have an assignment that revolves around the question we asked yesterday. What makes a great story? And so here's all that we'll be up to. Kind of like yesterday, you thought back through Romeo and Juliet and you thought about, okay, what made this a great story? And you chose some options from a list and explained how they made the story great. You're going to do a very similar process today, but with a different text, a short story by a man named Richard Wright, who is an author from Mississippi. So here's all you do to complete this assignment, step by step. One, I want you to read the story below, which is called Richard versus Grandma in the Towel. I've pasted the story below for you. It takes a minute to read, but it is very, very funny. I'll give you a sort of a secret tip. If you've ever been a little kid, Richard is 6 years old in the story. If you've ever been a kid and you accidentally said a word that was bad, but you didn't know what it meant, then you could relate to this story. Secondly, if your parents have ever whipped you or spanked you, then you could also relate to this story. I know that I got plenty of whippings in my childhood, and maybe you're the same way. Regardless, this is a funny story about Richard at 6 years old saying something bad and then getting in big trouble for it. And so you read the story, and then these are what you write in a text box. I want you to do kind of like yesterday. Choose two options from this list of story elements that you think made this story a great one, the one you just read. And in a text box, I simply want you to do kind of like you did yesterday. Explain, how did these two elements you chose make this story by Richard Wright great? So kind of like yesterday again, try to write a paragraph for each one. So for instance, if you think the humor and the conflict in this story are what make it great, well, do that. Explain how the humor is present and makes this a great story, and then explain how the conflict is present and makes this a great story. And you can write that again in a text box underneath the assignment. And that's all you have for today. This is good practice for you identifying what makes a great story, which is a skill even if you didn't know it, you've practiced throughout reading Romeo and Juliet. So I'll leave you to it, and then you have a great weekend. If you have any problems, feel free to email me. Otherwise, good luck. Enjoy the story. It's one of my favorites. It's hilarious, and I'll see you next week.